So thanks for joining in. Um, I just want to give a brief introductions to everyone about who we are and what we do. We are part of Commerce Shop. We help manufacturers and retailers to implement e-commerce and AI-based solutions. And we're joined with Lisa. She is part of Farm Institute, and she's been working in preparing the workforce for the future of AI, robotics, and everything. It would be great honor for you, for us to welcome you for this podcast, Lisa. It would be great if you can introduce yourself for this one.
Sure. Hi. Thank you for having me. My name is Lisa Massey Antonio, and I'm the Chief Workforce Officer for the Advanced Robotics for Manufacturing Institute. We're one of 18 national institutes focused on revitalizing manufacturing back in the United States. We're located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and our charter in the field of advanced manufacturing is focused on robotics, automation, and artificial intelligence, and how those help support our manufacturers and our manufacturing workforce for all of the changes that are taking place across advanced manufacturing.
Mhm. So great to know that, Lisa. So I just want to understand, like when you say you are specifically working on making the future ready manufacturing workforce. Can you give some brief idea about what it is? Is it more technically people should be trained for that, or is it more human skill? Can you give a brief idea on that?
So I would argue that it's the balance between the technology changes and adapting the technical capacity for what manufacturing workers have done in the past, and where they're going. So I like to phrase it that we, from the workforce standpoint, want to make sure that our education systems and the skills being obtained are keeping on pace with those technology changes. So as we become more competitive and we're moving forward in our manufacturing environment, we've got to make sure that our workers are able to first focus on what changes have to take place with their digital and automation fluency. So, how are they going to be able to now work alongside robots and when you've got AI enabled robotics, what do they have to do differently? What do they have to know when sensors are involved and all of those new changes? But it's also really important to focus on the changes that have to take place with those essential soft skills to be able to adapt to these new environments.
Interesting. And which roles, in your opinion, will be changing fast because of this AI automation? Or will there be new roles being created? Can you talk about that specifically on the manufacturing workforce?
Sure. So the traditional manufacturing operations, just by the nature of introducing automated solutions, will change. So if I've been a traditional manufacturing worker, I now am probably going to have to adapt my skills to focus on how do I use the things that I've always done in my job now to help robots and automated solutions become more efficient. So I'm moving from a traditional machine operator to maybe a robotic technician or a robot operator. I have to know how to maintain them, troubleshoot the problems, have basic programming skills, and to make sure that I'm able to adapt. It doesn't mean that those people will be displaced. And let me explain why. So let's say hypothetically, I was a welder, okay, and I'm in the environment. Now a robot is helping to fulfill the needs. You now need somebody who makes sure that the robot is doing what it should do. How do you inspect the seams and so forth? And think of that across all of those broad capabilities that individuals have to do in the workforce. Another thing that's changing is as the robots become smarter and you're looking at system of system integration and what people will be doing tomorrow that they haven't done in the past, you need those skills for somebody to look at the strategic implementation. So, the internal integration and automation planning. So, those are new and evolving skills to make sure that the automation that they're doing makes sense. How do you design the overall application? How do you ensure that the system is able to integrate in the rest of your manufacturing environment? And then finally, but not the end all. But you really have to start to think about AI enabled robotics. How do you make sure that the data is being used in a sensible way? Are you collecting that data? Are you verifying it? Are you labeling it? Looking at the ethical considerations, model testing, calibration. And one thing that the ARM Institute does is we've created two competency frameworks focused on what career pathways robotics are bringing into the manufacturing environment, as well as what artificial intelligence is bringing in. And so we can talk throughout the course of today on a free platform called robotics-ready.org that helps to shine a light on what those competencies look like and how it will change the career progression from yesterday to tomorrow.
I understand. So, when you talk about there will be a career progression, like all these things, specifically with the manufacturing workforce, what is the mismatch you see? Uh, is that people are not aware of these things are going to come, or there is no access to any training, or the employers are not ready to adapt to it? So, what do you think? There will be a mismatch here.
Those challenges. Correct, correct, and correct. We see all of those challenges, and those actually are the pillars for the ARM Institute's Education and Workforce Development Program. And those are really what we heard from the community and why we created roboticscareer.org. We want to help demystify the awareness. We don't want people to be afraid of robots being introduced. We want them to be excited about it. We want to help to standardize the language and bring awareness. So I would say from the time that I've been at the ARM Institute, since we were stood up in 2017, the awareness is growing. Students, workers, policymakers, they're all hearing more about robotics and automation, artificial intelligence in manufacturing.
Mhm.
But I would argue that the problem is that not everybody understands what these new jobs actually look like and how those existing skills translate into these new roles. Another thing, and I asked this whenever I started, how do I know what training is out there? And there wasn't a single resource at that point in time to help understand what training is available in my area. What are some of the really great training programs that are out there? So it's been uneven, but it's improving. We've got about 17,000 training programs represented in roboticscareer.org, everything from boot camps to PhD programs, mapping to those robotics competencies that I had talked about. The challenge, and what we all have to start to focus on is how do you scale this and how do you align what's happening in the real world manufacturing environment with what the training providers have created, and how do you keep it current for those evolving careers? And to your point, even if those things are making sense out there, we have to help align what the job seekers are looking for and what the employers are doing. And in 2017, when we started to really look at the root cause of these problems, they were not calling jobs the same thing. So on a lot of the career platforms, they were missing each other.
Mhm.
And we were finding some of the very large manufacturers had like 12,000 open jobs. And you can imagine with a small and medium manufacturer, even having 12 open technician jobs, it's slowing down your throughput and your productivity. And so we want to help those organizations to find and upskill their employees so that as they're moving forward, they can confidently invest in training to help move those organizations forward. Now, again, in robotics-ready.org, we've created a user profile capability, almost like a LinkedIn for manufacturers and for students and employees to be able to upload their skill sets and their career progression and their training progression. And those individuals are able to then use the job postings. We've got about 10,000 current job postings on robotics career across all manufacturing sectors. So those three things that you mentioned are definitely key challenges that we all as a community want to be able to provide solutions to.
If this is the employers ready for these adoptions in your opinion? Like they, yeah,
They're
do
better than they used to be.
okay,
So Ready has a vast range of
yeah, okay.
embracing. I would say that there's definitely a need, and they're getting better. They're finding other resources. They're working with their local schools and career technical programs and community colleges to make sure that as students are coming out, they've got the skills that those employers need for them to land those jobs.
Mhm. So, like, I have another question. Like, what would be the most needed skill if everything goes to robotics enabled manufacturing? Will there be more because the throughput would be improved? Will there be more of troubleshooting people would be there, or safety guy, data, or integrations? Who would be the most uh, on demand or most demanded skill? I would say for this.
Y- And this problem isn't new. So we've had, for as long as I can remember, a shortage over the years of those key skilled trades, things like CNC machinists, tool and die makers, electricians. And there isn't one root problem, right? So we've got a retiring workforce, less people getting into manufacturing, misalignment of the training needs that we had talked about earlier. So as manufacturers move to these automated solutions because of the problems that I just mentioned, those future ready manufacturing workers that we're talking about today, it's a variety of skills from these traditional mechanical trades added to digital fluency. So things like understanding the mechanical systems, being able to troubleshoot those. Is it a mechanical or an electrical problem? Um, I would categorize it as there isn't one skill cluster. It's a fit for purpose, depending on what the manufacturing environment looks like, and um, any of the results of these new skills have to enhance productivity, have to ensure safety, looking at how they manage increasing complexity in dealing with the AI driven automation. And um,
Mhm.
to foot stomp the importance of these new skill clusters is really understanding where's your aptitude, where is your desire for career progression, and knowing that they exist and finding that right manufacturing sector to help grow your career. And the career is only going to get stronger, only going to get more excited with all of the financial and other benefits that come along with that.
Mhm. So if somebody is getting trained on this for on what would be his day one would look like? Somebody is trained with this for this robotics manufacturing. What would be his day one? How does it you look like it would be for them?
So they're probably not going to have a great mastery on day one, just because the environments are all so different. But I would say the most important thing, and what I like to tell people, is make sure that you are ready to contribute on day one. So does that mean you've got your basic robot and automation safety skills? Does it mean that you can troubleshoot at a foundational level, knowing whether an issue is mechanical or electrical or software related, sensor related? The other key thing when we talk about the importance of those essential soft skills is knowing how to leverage where your core strengths are, whether they're technical or whether they're in the world of critical thinking or
Mhm.
problem solving, and understanding how to ask for the right on the job training and mentoring so that you can be productive as fast as possible.
Okay, so that would be, it will be very difficult on day one, but they will slowly adapt, is your opinion.
Exactly.
Okay, I get it. So if how does ARM evaluate? Like your organization, when they look around the manufacturing, how do you define the outcomes, or how do you define what kind of training programs uh, look at things? So can you talk about that? How do you
Sure.
training program? If somebody, a manufacturer comes to you, hey, I want to automate and make my people to be trained. So how do you evaluate and how do you design the training programs for them?
That's a great question. And too few people are focused on the training programs and evaluating it. We have a formal method and it's called an ARM endorsement.
Oh,
So it's not a certification program. It's really looking at, is this program getting people ready to move into the appropriate industries? So we have a methodology almost like an audit where we look at the relevance to the industry.
mhm,
So, is the industry needs being met by what is being taught? Is the curriculum effective?
mhm,
Is the training efficient to get the people job ready? What is the impact of the program? Are people coming out and getting jobs, and are they moving forward in their career progression? Is the program sustainable? Do you have enough people coming into the program? Are they getting hired? Do you have enough money? Are you marketing it appropriately? And then the final thing that we look at is the transportability of skills. Can people come from a high school program, a career and technical education program, in here into your curricula designed educational program? And will they be able to understand what you're doing? And likewise, whenever they come out of it, do they have an opportunity to move into the next level of their education system? And so, again, it's something that our community has asked for, to say, how do we know what's the best of the best? And we've created it in association with our member community to make sure that it's meeting their needs.
okay, I understand. So that would be the practical first step when someone is trying to improve it. They reach out to it, and you do that evaluation. Correct.
Right. That's right.
So what are the common reasons training initiatives, if you feel that that is failing inside plans, or something? How do you high performing trainings are happening? Can you talk about that? Is there any reasons you see some trainings generally they try to upskill, generally fail? What could be the possible reasons in your opinion?
So, the biggest problem that we see is bringing a training program that doesn't really align with the real tasks that the individuals are focused on inside of the working environment. And by the way, not one size might not fit all, right? So it's very difficult for manufacturers to afford to bring training in. And it's very expensive to take their workers off the line. So we want to make sure when they're making these kinds of investments in training that it really is meaningful. Because if it's not, that can lead to poor engagement from the workers. They might view it as a disruption rather than a positive investment. And the other thing is to make sure, as people are going through training, that they really understand the value of it for what their clear career pathway might look like. so that they have confidence in that training is going to lead to future job security, career advancement. And the other thing is to make sure that people understand in this day and age and the environment that we're in, continuous learning is going to be critical. So maybe um, more frequent or daily operations involvement. Here's what you're learning today, not just on onboarding, so that people can continue to look at how they become high performing in the manufacturing environment, and it's not just a one-time disruption.
Understand. So when a manufacturer is trying to invest all these robotics and everything, so what would be his thought process? Usually try to replace the people or evaluate, is this something because the work is going to be reduced, and will they think about, okay, let's reduce the people count or make them trained and use these robotics? Is what are the process going on there?
So um, I hate to think that any manufacturer just goes in and says, "Hey, what jobs can we automate?" without having
Mhm.
a serious understanding of why certain jobs should be automated. So we hear all the time about jobs that are dirty, dull, dangerous, and those are the obvious places to automate, right? So if people are perpetually getting hurt, or people frequently turn over because the job is too tedious or too dangerous, or they're bored, those always make sense. You also want to look at your productivity needs. So a human just can't go as fast as a robot in some instances. Maybe those are things that become automated. And another thing is very high precision tasks. So let's say there is a requirement for a, uh, a medicine, and if it's too much or too low, because of human error, it could be dangerous. Or if it has to pass a certain level of inspection and a human may not get it to the precision to pass an inspection. So, those are some things that we always preach that people need to look at before they make these automation decisions. But I also want to make sure that people understand when you're making the automation decisions. So let's say you're going to modernize your plant and you're going to make all of these investments. And if you don't focus on the worker in parallel, that can be detrimental. And we are out there doing assessments. We call them talent supply chain assessments, where we show people okay, you're going to be moving to this kind of manufacturing line. Are your people going to be ready to take on those new tasks
Mhm.
at the time you cut over? Okay, let's look at how we get them ready. Do you have the training in your local area? Are you going to even have enough people to do it? Are people going to be retiring between now and then? Are people not going to be interested in it? Do you have enough people in your local area who are underemployed or unemployed that we can upskill? And so there's a whole cycle of balance between the technical changes and the workforce changes that have to happen to make sure that that's seamless at the time that people cut over to the new automated lines.
Okay, I understand. So if when I say you mostly talked about the safety, and those are the first areas we should start working on automation when a manufacturer is introducing, correct? Is
Yes.
Okay. So where do you see, like, will there be any when people are doing this kind of investment? Do you have any programs for seeing how it would be, like a simulation program or something, to see what kind of environment it would be, so that they can be sure the investment is kind of safe, something like that? Like anything around that is available right now in the market? Hey, we will automate this, and this is how your future work would look like, something like that.
Yes, so we inside of our building
Hmm.
in Pittsburgh have something called a robotic manufacturing hub. And we work with manufacturers to utilize digital tools that help them to understand if I make this automation decision, and here are all of the alternatives that can be automated. What will it do to my bottom line? How long will it take? What kind of changes will I see? What kind of new digital and safety awareness do I have to include? And how much would it cost me? And what kind of vendor would I look for to pull these new capabilities in? And so when I discussed earlier about making those changes and making sure that people were making the changes along with the technical um, new world, let's say, it's really important not to just jump in with both feet and make that kind of investment without understanding what that benefit is. So, what we are talking about on the workforce side, my counterparts are doing on the technical side as well. And it's really, really helpful to make sure we help our manufacturers invest sensibly, invest at the pace that makes sense for them, and that they're getting the results that make sense for their business.
But it's more on the theoretical, or there will be any simulation softwares or any VRs programs you run, anything, or putting it, hey, this is how your new manufacturing floor would look like, anything like that.
Yes, yeah. So I can speak to it both from the perspective of what the shop floor would look like, but also on the training side. So you've got the digital capabilities on both sides. So when you use something like a digital twin and you're able to simulate what kind of changes would happen to the line, some of those tools also can help to speed up the training. So if you're looking at these capabilities, a lot of times they dovetail with the here's your technical changes, here's how you can train your people. And we're finding that both on the technical side and on the worker side, using virtual reality simulations, digital twins, that you're able to make mistakes in a low risk way because it's all online, but it can't be completely replacing the hands-on experiences, at least from a workforce standpoint, and on the technical aspects that eventually it has to be laid out, and you've got to have the real world equipment, and then you've got to make sure your people to truly be job ready get to work on that equipment simultaneously as it's being implemented on the shop floor.
Hmm. And getting onto the training, I have one question around that also. Like, is there people who are getting certified or trained? Is there any globally renowned training? Hey, I got been certified by Arm Institute. This is a valuable one. I can get a job somewhere. Is there anything like that are going on?
That ARM delivers, or
In
that
general, I'm talking about, like, if somebody is working in manufacturing space, I need to be certified on these things so that I am going to be a future manufacturers can hire me for that, something like that.
that there are so many certifications and regulatory activities out there, and again, it's the fit for purpose that I had talked to. So a manufacturer may say you've got to have all of these OSHA certifications to even be able to step on the floor, or we're going to give priority to these kinds of credentials and these kinds of certifications, these kinds of degrees for people to be able to work in my environment. And we, from the ARM Institute standpoint, we treat all of them as huge value. But we also see instances where just course completion gets somebody job ready. And so we're agnostic to making people go down one career pathway versus another, because sometimes a 2 week boot camp gets somebody ready and they can be productive with a little bit of on the job training. And sometimes these jobs require a PhD. And within robotics career, we support all of those because we don't look at um, the business requirements of the manufacturers. We want to find ways for them to get the right resources no matter from where they're coming.
Interesting. And if I'm one of the CEO of manufacturing, like let's take companies that are come to our institute. What is the average ROI I can see in next 12 months if I am doing this, or 24 months or 36 months? What do you see?
So, from the perspective, and I'm always looking to the workforce side of it, and my counterparts are looking at the business ROI.
Hmm.
So, what I would make an argument is, as a CEO, stay ahead of the talent curve. So, if you're really starting to move to some automated solutions, use your workforce like a strategic capability, not as an HR problem, not just a training line item, but a core element of your competitiveness. Make sure they can be as productive the minute that things are changing and the new automated solutions are being invited into your shop floor. So the technology is going to keep accelerating. Your demographics are going to be shifting, and so act now to make sure that your workforce tomorrow and the next decade is ready for those changes and stay ahead of your competition.
Right. And with so many jobs, or at least the manufacturing, the government is pushing to bring it to US. So, and people are not many are interested in doing manufacturing, is something that what you say. So, will this new way of doing manufacturing with robotics, will that solve the problem, or is it an advantage for you guys with this all these changes going on? You see.
I would say it in my perspective, it makes manufacturers more competitive. It makes the US more competitive. And if we are focusing on reshoring and starting new companies here, automation is a way to strike that balance between a workforce shortage, a misalignment of skills, and how we move to a more safe environment inside of manufacturing, faster productivity, job satisfaction, and making sure that the employers are getting what they actually need.
Hmm. Understand. And from your experience, have you seen any projects that got failed, or something people tried to invest, something they should not automate, something, have you seen anything?
Sure, sure. There's a lot of instances where people may not have understood the automation plan, right?
Okay.
So they may have purchased a piece of machinery that wasn't maybe helping their productivity, and so that's one of the reasons why the robotics manufacturing hub became so important, so that people can make solid business decisions, and then buy the automation equipment in accordance with their business challenges that they really want to solve.
Okay. So when somebody is reaching out to ARM, so do you do any, which one do you recommend? Is that to do some automation pilot program, or training pilot program, uh, or connecting with you for at least 1 or 2 years kind of engagement? How does that works?
That's a great question. And there are so many ways that we are set up to help organizations. I did not mention it in my introduction, but we are a consortia based organization.
Hmm.
We have we're approaching 500 members right now. We've got 484. And the capabilities of our membership stretch from small not for profit and government, large DoD contractors, all kinds of educational programs from small high school programs all the way up through your higher ed and all of your small and medium manufacturers and integrators. And so one component is getting involved in the membership so that you can learn from what other manufacturers may have done. What are some industry standards? What are some niche technologies that are out there that may be able to help you move forward in your automation solutions? Another way is using robotics career. So I know what I want to automate, but I don't know what training will help get people ready. So roboticscareer.org, it's a free resource that's out there. And then to your point, the robotics manufacturing hub, would you like us to take a look at your challenges and your opportunities and help you make sound business decisions as you move forward?
Interesting. So, since you said you also educate uh, IRADs and everybody, like, are you connecting with any universities? Or are you working with any collaborations with any education department to bring this as a course for them or something like that?
So we have a lot of strategic relationships through our membership with um, a ton. I can't even, I don't know the number offhand, but there are dozens and dozens of universities and community colleges. And as I said, high school programs, certification bodies. So we've got a plethora of capabilities within our membership to pull from. And we've got an education and workforce advisory committee who informs us on a monthly basis of changing needs and helping us to drive our body of work and looking at working groups to focus on some regional challenges. And if it's even a more surface capability of, I know I need a course for my team to move forward. Again, robotics career has 17,000 training programs in it.
Okay.
If people are just looking for a fast resource in their backyard.
Right. So, if somebody is going to be trained with these tools, like, do you think they would be job ready for the market, or that's because it is becoming a issue everywhere? Like, people who are graduating, the entry jobs are being taken away. So, what do you think on that?
I'm more hopeful, let's say. I'm more hopeful that there is a greater alignment. So one of the challenges that was very worrisome when I first took this job and we stood up was people were graduating and you invest a lot of money
Mm.
to get your education and not being able to find a job when they came out because the local employers weren't hiring for those skills. And I think as a community, we are doing a lot better to make sure that the schools at all levels are producing the right curricula to get people job ready. And the more mature the automation capabilities become, the more we can articulate to the training providers what is needed to get people job ready and then helping to match those job seekers to the jobs that make sense for them.
I understand. Do you see any this kind of robotics manufacturing? Will there be any negatives in your opinion? Hey, these things to be governed properly, or something to be introduced in a much um, a kind of an rules engine, something like that. Do you see anything to be done, or is government doing that? What's your opinion on that?
That's a great question. We hear a lot. So, because we are sponsored from the Department of War, so they're in the institutes. I mentioned that there are 18. Some are sponsored by Department of Commerce. Some are sponsored by the Department of Energy, and some are sponsored by the Department of War. We happen to be one of 8 that are sponsored by the Department of War. And in any um, fast changing environment like this, you're going to have regulations and you're going to have opinions from the policymakers. And what we hope to do is to give them unbiased information to help make those decisions in a meaningful and sensible and valuable way. So, I, if I'm a betting person, there will be regulations and there will be guidance, and it's just helping people to understand as those decisions are being made what the reality and the truths are.
Okay. But again, there's one more question to this robotics manufacturing you're bringing in. I don't know, with Tesla, you would have seen that there is Optimus, people are launching it, and it's like humanoid robot. Do you think those things will be coming to the manufacturing floors anytime soon, you think? Or that could even make things more automated?
We've not been brought into any of those discussions,
Okay.
and I haven't seen it on the shop floor. But with the pace and the innovation and the need, so there is a huge need for more workers. So if we can't get people into the trades, we'll probably see more of that. So I am not fearful that those kinds of capabilities are going to displace people, because right now we've got anywhere, depending on which report you're looking at, a 500,000 to 1 million open jobs. And there's predictions as more manufacturing plants are opening that we could have up to 2.5 million open jobs in the next 5 years or so. So hopefully, in a perfect world, the balance, I always talk about striking that balance between new capabilities and the upskilling of our workforce, that they come together for the benefit of each other and that they're not opposing each other or being imbalanced.
How do you think people will make this more attractive for new graduates? Like, some, not many are interested in earlier for manufacturers. Now they are looking at it differently. So, how governments or organizations should make it more attractive for to hire talents?
Right. It's there's old myths, right? So people think robots are taking jobs, and as I just said, that we don't have enough people to fill the jobs. There's an old myth of, oh, your grandfather worked for a manufacturer and they went out of business, and our whole town, and so those perceptions are sometimes moving people away from these great careers and these exciting careers and really cool work that can be done. And so, one of the charters of the institutes, the Manufacturing USA Institutes, is to really help change that perception. And hopefully, all of our partners and our member organizations are helping to show what the cool aspects are and what the exciting advancements are in all of advanced manufacturing.
I understand. And is there any skill like humans should learn about the safety for this? Anything for the for this robotics? Anything you think? Hey, these are some safety skills that you should have. Something like that.
Yeah, so first of all, as the robots become smarter, and we call collaborative robots
Mm-hmm.
cobots, so taking the machines out of the cages like they used to be quarantined because they were, they're thousands of pounds, and if an arm is swinging, and so the wonderful part is the robots are becoming safer as well. So they've got sensors, and they'll slow down or they'll stop before a human gets injured from working alongside of them. But as individuals, we really have to focus on all of those safety factors. And this is why some of those standards that you and I had talked about, OSHA requirements and safety requirements that are out there, like A3 safety standards, will help us to also ensure that we're becoming safer awareness, wearing your protective equipment. All of those are smart things that we can do as individuals to work alongside those robots. And you also have to think of the cyber safety.
Mm-hmm.
So introducing more automation invites
Yeah.
some bad actors
Yeah.
to also focus. So whether it be malicious or non-malicious intent, having this level of automation does also provide cyber challenges. And so it's the physical and the cyber awareness and putting in good practices that will keep the environment safe.
That's good. So I think most of the questions I had you answered, Lisa. Thanks for that. But one last thing that if you want to add, hey, this is what I see that future would be, and US might be self-sufficient for all the needs. So what do you want to add to that, like with this robotic manufacturing?
Right. Well, I would say the most important thing, as I started off saying, is how do we keep our workforce on pace with the technology changes? And that's going to involve the educational system. It's going to involve the employers, and it's going to benefit the training seekers and the job seekers, and filter up through all of the organizations like the Arm Institute, like the manufacturers and the policymakers. So we're all embracing enthusiastically and moving it forward in a common fashion rather than everybody doing it independently.
Interesting. Sounds good. I hope those things happens, and we'll be seeing more and more robotics based manufacturing coming days. Thanks, Lisa. Thanks for your time, and I hope we'll join you with another round of discussion. And
Thank you for having me. This was a terrific
thank you,
hour to spend together.
thank you, Lisa. Talk to you later.
Bye bye.